Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Dosek, and welcome to Trading the Close. So today we had some jobless numbers come in, 10,000 jobless numbers higher than what was anticipated. So we came in with 235,000 jobless claims this week. That's not good data. The Federal Reserve has their annual symposium that's going to conclude tomorrow with Jerome Powell giving a speech to the markets at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Be prepared for that. Today was a very quiet day in the markets. We didn't have a lot of volatility. There was a couple stocks that moved, mainly Walmart off of earnings, but a lot of investors are waiting to hear what Jerome Powell has to say tomorrow. So let's jump into the market summary board and see where everything's playing out for this big announcement tomorrow. So you see here on the Dow Jones, we're down 0.28%. NASDAQ's down 0.37%. S&P 500 down 0.37%. U.S. oil popped up almost 1% today. Gold's down 0.29%, and Bitcoin continues to fall, down 1.88%. So let's jump into the S&P 500 heat map. And we can take a look and see what's going on there. So we see here real quickly, pop over to the heat map, and you notice we do have just basically a flat day across the board with some reds poking up here and there. You see NVIDIA down 0.26%, Apple down 0.46%, AVGO down 0.58%. There's really not a lot of big movers because it does, guys, it makes sense, right? We have a big announcement tomorrow that's going to determine potential rate cuts moving forward through the end of the year. Are a lot of institutions or investors going heavy right now today? Likely not. We've been seeing more trimming over the last few days with prices going down than we've been seeing going up. So that tells me more investors are being conservative, waiting for to act on the reaction from the meeting tomorrow. So it's very, very critical as the markets are displaying right now. S&P 500, as we see here, has retreated slightly from yesterday's close. Fantastic move up and this massive wick on yesterday, and we're currently trading within yesterday's price action. We didn't pop up, but this candle, this wick right here was really kind of throwing us a curveball, showing there was a lot of buyers ready to get back into the market, especially some of those high flyers, Palantir, NVIDIA, GEV. So they were popping back up after selling. And then today, all of that momentum seemed to falter as we're coming right back down on the charts. Immediate full support is going to be down here at 61.46. I'll be watching. We won't be hitting that tomorrow, but I will be watching for price momentum and movement, whether it's going to be coming closer to that target in the very near future. Next up, the Qs. You can see the Qs here, very similar to the S&P 500. We really just have kind of been trading within yesterday's price action, still continuing this downward trend from the nice high that was made up here on August 13th. Support on the Qs, which would be a significant support to watch, is at 539.19. Next up, the SMH. SMH also just trading within yesterday's candle, but remaining a little bit stronger than the Qs and the S&P 500, although it's the same sort of pattern. Look at this, a nice diagonal decline. Immediate support, though, be watching the bottom end of this long wick. Since we did have such a longer and extended wick on this day of selling, be watching what happens when price reaches the bottom of it, right around 281.16. Once that breaches, we're coming down to 271.62. Next up, the IWM. Now, the IWM put in a pretty positive day today. Look where the price action is compared and relative to yesterday's price. This index has been stronger than the S&P 500 and the Qs in relative terms most recently. We've been pushing up, making new highs this part of the year, but they're not the all-time highs as we've displayed before. Back here in 2024 in November, we put in a beautiful pivot high right around 245. Haven't gotten anywhere close to it, nor made new highs. So it makes sense that this index wouldn't be getting hit as hard with this little drawback that we have seen. And on the S&P 500, we've only seen a decline of about 2%. I'm looking for about a 5 to 10% pullback. So the selling in the broader indices, I don't believe is done yet. We'll see, though. We'll see if Jerome Powell is dovish, which would help lift the markets up tomorrow. All right, into Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin's a leading indicator, and we see here that price action came down. It got support on this declining trend line, had a nice bounce up, then sold off. Then yesterday, I was saying this close is critical for Bitcoin. If we get a close above that declining trend line, we could start moving back up on the chart of Bitcoin. We did not have that happen last night. And as you can see, this sort of sell action is the result of that failed move to get back above that declining trend line. So now most immediate support's not far away, right at $111,700. This area will be a minor support. I still like Bitcoin coming down here to this declining trend line, in essence, making a full circle from breakout to coming back in and testing that trend line right around $107,126. Into gold we go. Not too much to report here. And I'm bringing up the weekly chart for a reason. We still have the topping tail intact. But if you look at this, this is all bullish consolidation. But bullish consolidation usually fails at the high end of the chart. So this chart is giving us mixed signals. There's no doubt about it. Topping tail says price should come down. We haven't had a decline that steep yet. If I flip back to Bitcoin and flip over to the weekly chart, this is a reaction you typically see off of a topping tail. Bitcoin also has a weekly topping tail. And what happened the very next week? We're selling down on the charts. And in gold, we did have that happen, but you notice it recovered very quickly and it stayed right up here in that range. So this chart really is giving mixed signals. Looks like it should be headed down with the topping tail and bullish consolidation at the top of the charts, yet it still remains elevated. The area to break is this inclining trend line. 3314 is going to be that figure. And then if that does break, support for gold is going to be right here on this inclining parallel at 3105. Next up, silver. You see silver here did have a nice day pushing up here on the charts. Now just consolidating here in this range. This is more bearish consolidations. It's consolidating down here towards the bottom end of this move from the high pivot. We'll see where price action, if it can break these pivot highs right here on Thursday, August 14th and get higher than $38.76, then we would be moving back up on silver. Ultimately, though, like I said, still bearish consolidation on the near term that would point to a retest of this support 36.58, followed by $34.86. Into oil we go. You see here, oil, we've been talking about this for a while. Bearish consolidation, and then a move up, and then a drop, and then now more bearish consolidation is occurring right here. So if you are a bear on oil, you do not want to see price get up above basically $65. All of these pivots right here. Now note, we did have some nice momentum moving up higher here and still fell off. But this, if we have price remain under 65, that would remain bearish for the entire duration and not have an attempt to break out of that bearish consolidation. Be watching $65 for any resistance and then further selling pressure to ultimately take me to a target on this declining trend line, roughly right around $59 on the chart. Next up, Nat Gas. Nat Gas here also did have a decent day, getting back above this declining trend line we've really been watching over for the last several weeks. All in all, this is a diagonal declining trend on Nat Gas that could end with a nice pop. I'm anticipating first, before that happens, price on Nat Gas to get down here to a major support level of $2.55. And then we should start returning with a nice momentum bounce on Nat Gas, considering too, we're in summertime and we're about to be rolling into the winter where we're going to be using Nat Gas, or a lot of the folks on the Northern Hemisphere are obviously going to be utilizing Nat Gas for heating, which would create higher demand and then likely would push price up on Nat Gas. First, though, I want to see a flush down into this area, which would be an awesome buying opportunity. Next up, we've got the 10-year yield still remaining in bearish consolidation. Now, Jerome Powell tomorrow will certainly influence what's going on here on this chart. So watch what's going on and the reaction to it at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. We still have this bearish consolidation, which does imply a move down here to 4.095%. We'll see which price or which direction the 10-year yield pushes tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Next up, Walmart. Now, Walmart did have earnings. You see here, they did miss on earnings per share, but they did actually beat on revenue. What they had happen was a 25% increase on their e-commerce section, which was great, but a slight decrease on in-store revenue. However, the CEO says there's really no difference as far as foot traffic or shopping amongst their customers, and they anticipate everything to do well moving forward for Walmart, yet the investors did sell off, as you see here. But ultimately, it did break. This is a significant sell-off because it did break this inclining trend that's been on Walmart since April of this year. Now, what we need to see tomorrow for any further selling pressure, you need to have price come back down underneath this candle, start trading under here, eventually tag this support level of $95.20. We've explained many times on this show, usually when price breaks a trend line and confirms moving down after tagging support, it likes to retrace back up to that trend line, which then presents a shortable opportunity for you to take for price to get rejected at that trend line and head back down further. But first things first, you need price to come down further in order to initiate that short opportunity. Otherwise, this simply could be a test candle, one candle down, maybe some higher price action in the next few days, and then busting back up into that inclining trend line. It's critical to understand these little nuances and rules when you want to execute successful trades on these sorts of charts where they break, and the behavior in which they break is critical to understanding your probabilities for a successful trade. Next up, we've got a few Chinese stocks, and you can notice here, XPEV is an electric vehicle player out of China. Got the chart zoomed way out so you can see we've got a major pivot here with a declining trend line connected over to this pivot, and XPEV today had a nice push up 11.68%. A lot of these Chinese stocks are really starting to perk up and or get into breakout scenarios currently on the chart. And if you look at a near-term scenario, you can see it right here. This chart has been in breakout mode for quite a while now, basically since right here at the beginning of August. So beautiful move here and continued move on XPEV. Should we get above this pivot tomorrow? It's critical to note we did close right here on this pivot high that occurred on May 21st. Should we get above that and close tomorrow? Next destination for XPEV is going to be $25.77. If you do have a radical move up there, a very vertical move, that actually could be a near-term shorting opportunity for price to pull back down to current areas right here where we've got these pivots. Please notice here on the chart, what happens when we have a rapid accelerated move up into a resistance area? An immediate rejection. So if that does occur, if we have rapid continuation of buying, that could be a great area to start shorting. Now, say it breaks through that trend line, because again, a lot of these charts are starting to break out. Then you have to watch the next area on this inclining parallel channel, roughly about $28 to $29.11, depending upon the time at which price gets into that level. Next up, PDD, another Chinese company. And as you can see here, and actually, they might have moved their headquarters, I believe, over to Ireland, but this is a Chinese-based company. On this chart, we have a beautiful inverse head and shoulders pattern with a targeted measured move up here of $147.44. Now, guys, these are the charts I love to analyze. Whenever I see something as clean as this, and what I mean, not only an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but notice the way and fashion and that it broke. It broke out. How often have I said this on this show, guys? And not every time this happens, but look at this beautiful retrace right back down to the neckline, and then that springboard bounce play. I like to think of it, and I said this a lot of times, especially in our live day trading room, those bounces reminded me of being a kid during the summertime, running up on the diving board, taking a jump, and then that last big bounce sends me high in the air. Very similar to what's going on right here. We had a breakout. That breakout took a lot of momentum, so that momentum started faltering and pulling right back down on the chart, in essence, enabling that springboard bounce play. Look at that. Boom, that bounce, taking it up higher than the previous pivot. That tells me PDD is not done in the near term, moving up. Next resistance at $130.92, followed by the measured move of this inverse head and shoulders pattern up at 147.44. But if I scroll back out on the chart, you can see PDD, we have a lot of room to run once we do tag that measured move. Should we consolidate in that area, a lot of room to run to the all-time highs at $212. All right, so next up, we've got IQ. And I started this chart, guys, completely zoomed out to just say, wow, what a decline on IQ. And how beaten up is this stock, guys? It used to be over $40. Now we're all the way down here, $2.35. But very similar fashion as far as a breakout. Notice this pivot to pivot to pivot trend line all the way down. We had a breakout, then we retested, even got back down underneath this declining trend line, attempted another break, failed, and then finally gained the momentum to push right up through this support, which is now support. It was resistance, pushed right up through this level, and then has now started consolidating in kind of an erratic fashion up here, not very tight of consolidation. But what I'm targeting here is a move down to about $2.12, or even if I'm lucky enough, $2.01 to get a buying opportunity for another move higher. Look at the next level of resistance, folks. It's all the way up here at $3.14. If you want to tuck away some IQ, I don't blame you. I've already got call options on these, and I bought somewhere right around the $1.70 mark. So I'm just sitting back, watching price continue to move up here on IQ. This is a very incredible breakout with a lot of upside potential should IQ get their books in order and start generating some more revenue. Ultimately, plays like this down here at the bottom of the chart can really yield some high moves. Look, from just right over here on August 11th, price moved up roughly about 40%. And guys, you know what's so awesome about this too? We had this in our swing trading service, my small cap catalyst swing trading service, and we pocketed a 30% gain on IQ within the last week. Awesome stuff, guys. Come join us if you want to see this technical analysis on a daily and weekly basis with trade signals that we do send out to you guys to initiate and activate on your own portfolios. Next up, we've got a few different altcoins. So let's go over those. With the market being a little bit slower, let's see where some of these altcoins are trading out now. Now, for first, we got Polkadot. Now, you scroll back out on the chart, you can see Polkadot hasn't received a lot of inflow of capital, much like Bitcoin or Ethereum or even Chainlink. Some of these others altcoins have really just ripped. You know, they've gone much, much higher, but Polkadot has been left in the dust. So what are we dealing with here in the near term for Polkadot? We've got a couple trend lines that I'm paying attention to. First, this declining trend line. Now it's been tagged 3 times, telling me this next approach and attack could have a chance for breaking through, which would be phenomenal for upside movement on Polkadot. That then would release and open the doors for possibilities of price to tag this $4.80 level, another dollar higher from where current price is. The area to the downside, you've got to be watching this inclining trend line. This inclining trend line has only been tagged twice, but this area is currently support. Should we puncture and go through these pivots, will then be the next areas of support. But the first line in the sand to watch for any break is here on this inclining trend line at $3.70. Be paying attention to that in the near term. Next up, Chainlink. Now, Chainlink, look at this, guys. Incredible weekly chart on Chainlink. And look how clean and simple this analysis is when it's presented with just 2 trend lines, right? I've got one covering us down on the bottom, and then I've got the other one showing us the top end resistance. And now we have jammed right into resistance over the past week. Let's flip to the daily chart. You can see what a beautiful march up there on Chainlink. It's now tagged it, got rejected, hit it again, got rejected. If we continue this momentum, keep on banging against this door, just imagine it like you're trying to break into a door that's locked. The more times you start banging against that door, the weaker that door becomes. And then the more likely we will end up breaking through that door. So this consolidation is critical for an ultimate breakout on Chainlink. So be watching that over the coming days. If we do break out, expect the next area of resistance up here at $31.19, and then price likely will start pulling back, giving anybody who didn't get on board before this breakout an opportunity to potentially buy it cheaper underneath this breakout area when price comes back and retests that trend line. Next up, we've got Ethereum, a very popular cryptocurrency at the state, as it has run up incredibly since July. Now we're starting to come back in. Profit takers are hitting that button, pocketing that money for their portfolio and waiting for another opportunity to get back into Ethereum. So where can we get back in? First area is going to be on this inclining trend line that you see here. Roughly, it's going to be about $4,000. Now, note, we got very close to that a couple days ago. We got down to $4,060 and then have seen a fantastic bounce up $300-400 as we're currently experiencing. But today, we're starting to come right back in. If this consolidates, we're likely going to break through that inclining trend line, come down to 38.12, then next support here at 3,500. So be watching those three levels in the next few trading days for Ethereum, as this area appears to 4,000 will give you a great buy-in opportunity to start accumulating Ethereum. Lastly, we've got Solana. Now, Solana, unlike Ethereum, we're not near all-time highs, not pushing up anywhere close to that level. As you see, Solana is up here near the $300 level for its highs. So now what we're doing, we're mainly putting in some longer-term bearish consolidation, but we've been making higher lows on the charts. So a little bit of conflicting information, one that would change should we get price action to trade above this inclining trend line. So that's the line in the sand to the upside. It's been tagged 3 times. Next time is vulnerable for a break. That area is roughly right around $213 to $215, depending upon when it gets up there. For now, though, we're now retesting this other inclining trend line. As you see, price came back down, got support, bounced up, and has since now come back down today. That area initially is the line in the sand for the way down, $175, followed by support at 168.02, then another major level of support with this inclining trend line slightly underneath that, right around 156. And guys, you probably can get the gist. Basically, this zone is a very good support zone near term for Solana. Be paying attention if price pokes beneath here. That way you can start capitalizing, again, accumulating. Now, keep in mind, there's numbers of ways to trade. I run a hodler service here, so every time price is coming down, I'm actually eager to pick up some more cryptocurrency. So if you're a near-term trader, you've really got to analyze the charts and watch out what's going on for potential breakdowns. But as a hodler service, I can just keep adding, and especially take advantage of those staking percentages, which give you return while you're holding the position. In essence, it accumulates more and more of that cryptocurrency that you're staking. It's a pretty neat feature, especially for those investors that like to buy and hold crypto for the long term. All right, guys, that wraps up Trading to Close. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. But until then, hopefully we get some volatility on Friday. See you on the charts, guys. Take care.